Appreciate you guys. And if you're my regular Perry peeps, my Facebook fans, if you're on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, wherever you guys are, drop your name in the chat. Make sure you're following, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell if depending on where you are, and make sure that you know when we're going live. So today we're going to be talking about our toddlers traumatized by shopping trends. Now, you guys have probably heard all the stuff that's going on. And again, if you're new, I want you to make sure you put your name in the chat so I can recognize you and say hello. But if you're some of the regular people that are always watching the show, make sure that you guys are contributing and talking to people and getting people involved in the conversation because these can be a little tricky. People are sometimes a little bit intimidated, especially on a new live streaming platform or they're a new broadcaster. They're not sure what to think. So I want you guys to make sure and drop a comment below so I know you guys are there. We don't know you're there unless we know you're there, right? Okay. All right. So there is an article that came out today by, here you guys might see it here, the Pacific Justice Institute. And I wanted to talk to you guys about this because there are some things that make sense. There's other things that don't make sense. And we've got to blend those things together so we can start making some kind of sense. Because we all know that's not really any more common sense anymore. It's really, it's kind of seems passe, right? Common sense is not so common anymore. Okay, so I just want to read this piece to you just so you know, because this is happening in California. It may not be happening in your state yet. It might not be happening in your area yet, but it's going to. And again, by the way, if you haven't hit the share button, please hit the share button so we can make sure other people know what's happening here. They're open to the conversation. And if you guys are new to HAPS, as a matter of fact, if you guys have not come over to the HAPS app yet, come over to haps.tv, HAPPS.tv/invite/@ Vicky Fitch, VICKIFITCH. So come on over to the broadcast, you guys. Join us. You can get some free coins that you can use to attribute to other broadcasters, or of course me if you like me. But it's an opportunity every day. You can earn additional coins and you can recognize the broadcasters that you connect with. All right. So Sacramento, California, right? There is a new mandate, right? This one, let's see, Assembly Bill 1084. Put a one in the chat box if you guys are familiar with Assembly Bill 1084. It has just cleared its first committee, which is super exciting, right? Because there's so many committees and I'm going to be a little punchy today, right? There's some buffoons that are trying to put this stuff together, and it just doesn't make sense why we have to do this. AB 1084 would require large retailers. Now hold on to and just think, because if it starts with large retailers, it's coming down to mom and pop stores. So let's just address it, right? It would require large retailers to identify a section of their toy departments as gender neutral. Now, I want you to think about this for a minute, and that's why I titled this, Are Toddlers Traumatized by Shopping Trends? Have you ever seen a toddler go into a store and be really overwhelmed that there was a boy section and a girl section? No, they don't even know. They run in. When I was a kid, I was what they called a tomboy. I'd run in, I might go get a Hot Wheel car, I might get a fire truck, I might get a doll. It didn't matter because I wasn't traumatized by the location of the toys. And so now we've identified that we now have to have gender neutral. And what does gender neutral even mean? Melanie, welcome to the broadcast. Thanks for being here. And for the rest of you guys, again, pop your name in the chat box, hit the share button. Let's make sure to let other people know we're here too. Toys are toys. We may identify what one sex, and again, I'm not going to go into gender neutral terms. We've done the 64 genders before on one of the broadcasts, and whether you identify as one of those or whether you identify one of the original male or female, that's not the conversation we're having today. If we have time at the end, I'm happy to kind of dive into some of those things. But right now, I'm going to use the terms that I've always learned, all from from the time I grew up. Right? Hello, Dale. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited to have you. That we're going to be talking about those terms, right? I played with things that typically were boy things. I played football as a kid. I played all kinds of stuff. I'm still a girl. I like being a girl. I also took ballet. We don't have to identify where we're at on a spectrum when we're kids. We can just find toys. And these just separating them into the current departments just helps people with what their kids typically like. Or if I'm looking for something in a superhero, I'm usually going to that department, right? They don't have to be gender neutral. My point is, we don't have to continue reclassifying everything and redoing and costing people money, which just makes the cost of the products go up because someone has identified we need to be gender neutral. Now, let me just identify that nothing in the departments is causing any trauma to the children. If we've got teenagers that are traumatized by it, it's because we've taught them to be traumatized by it. I mean, if I can't find what I'm looking for in a grocery store, and food basically is gender neutral as far as I'm concerned, I don't throw a fit. I don't get angry, even though the retailers move it around all the time. I just ask someone where it is. So why are we trying to do this? And so I wanted to let you know where this comes from and tell you a little bit more about it. And again, put a 2 in the chat box if you've experienced this in your state or you know what's happening, because it's nuts is what it is. It's nuts for us to continue having to spend money and time and effort to do something that the the media and the left wing activists, and that's really what they are, because they don't make sense. I mean, I know lots, it's not Democrat versus Republican. I know lots of Democrats and lots of Republicans, and we can come in the middle, and most people say, I don't need a gender neutral toy section. I just want to see the toys. The way they are now is totally fine. Never been offended, never had a conniption fit, never felt like there was any difficulties there, that people were specifically excluding someone. I mean, it's just nonsense. Hello from Orange County, California. Blessings. Grace is simply amazing. Enjoy your presentation. Thank you so much, Ed. Really appreciate you being here. All right. So the bill's author, and this is what's going to be, I think, be very intriguing. The bill's author has explained that signage, such as boys and girls, is stigmatizing to some children. Now, I'm going to have to disagree, because I think we may be stigmatizing children. The children have never been stigmatized all through life. Now, is there a small variation of kids that have felt that way for some unknown reason? Possibly. But in general, again, since the dawn of time, we haven't had too much trouble with identifying the two genders of male and female. Now we are saying we're stigmatizing children, and they're somehow we're traumatizing them by identifying boy and girl. Grocery stores are still gender neutral, right? For now, anyway. That's what I say. They're gender neutral for now. But this is the interesting part, I guess you say. The Equality Act it's a part of the Equality Act is pending in the US Congress. Committee staff also disclosed that AB 1084 is sponsored by a group called the Fluid Project. Fluid spelled PHLUID. So I went and looked up the Fluid Project. The Fluid Project, which honestly, I guess I'm having, as an entrepreneur, I'm having trouble figuring out why the Fluid Project would want to sponsor this bill. The Fluid Project is what they're saying, the first gender neutral store. It's completely gender neutral. Everything is for everyone. I mean, it's this inclusive place that brings everyone together. They have a cafe, they have a hangout space. Okay, I think it's great. If that's a way for these people to feel connected and be excited, then that's awesome. But why is it that we can't leave that with the Fluid space or the Fluid Project, and let the Fluid Project, grow exponentially if that's what the marketplace calls for? And can't we just leave current retailers alone? Why are we having to push this down other people's throats? There's nothing wrong with the Fluid Project. I'm not suggesting that they shouldn't have it. I think it's great. I think if you can create a space where your market feels included, connected, and excited to be there, you have hit a home run. This is an excellent idea, because we all have different needs and interests. And if this is your need and interest, then knock yourself out. But stop telling people they have to become gender neutral. We're going to become a bunch of eunuchs walking around. We can identify with he or she. We're pretending we're not feminine or masculine. I mean, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I'd love to hear you guys' idea. Their bathroom might not be right. Well, and exactly. This is the point. All these bathrooms, I mean, there's a lot of small businesses that have gone to a tremendous amount of expenses to create gender neutral bathrooms instead of just having a male and a female bathroom. I don't exactly get it. I don't want to discount the fact that people can have feelings, and it might be uncomfortable. Excuse me. 4 people. And so if we wanted to add on a third bathroom, for like we can just call it families or you can call it gender neutral, then that's fine. But what we've gone on to is created a lot of expense. People are uncomfortable. Now people don't know what to think or to say. They're afraid they're going to offend people. We walk around on eggshells every single day wherever we go. And it's become increasingly a pressure point for most people. I can't remember anything in my childhood that caused me any undue stress. This is from Edward Lynn. Now, Edward, is that Edward and Lynn? Is Edward and Lynn like as in two people or Edward and Lynn as in one person? I'm not sure who's speaking, but we're excited to have you here. My parents took care of those issues for me, grateful for godly parents and the traditional family unit. That's what I'm talking about. Again, some people don't have a traditional family unit, and I get that. And I'm not saying that is it's not different and that we don't want to respect them. I will have all kinds of respect for them. They can do whatever they want. And I'm like I said, I'm supportive of things like the Fluid Project. If they want to create that safe space for people, it's an ingenious opportunity in the marketplace for you to see a need, fill the need, and become wealthy from it. But I don't understand why we're doing what we're doing and why we are causing so much havoc in the marketplace with everybody else. And just because they're talking about big retailers, small retailers will be right behind them. They're going to have to do that. Now we either have to have more space or now you can be fined. And I was looking through here. I did not see the fines listed here, but I know I had read it before. The fines are substantial, like $1,000 or something. So if you got people going in there complaining, you can be fined incredibly. Let me see. What's that say? Let's see. When does clothing go out the window? Can't dress to male or female. Well, Cher, that's what they're saying. They want it gender neutral. And if you've seen some of the stuff that men are wearing these days in the fashion shows, those are beyond odd to me. I mean, honestly, I don't find a man in a dress attractive. I just don't. And if you guys heard, put a 3 in the chat box if you guys heard about the TikTok video that went viral of the kid that was calling himself super straight and that he's created his own gender of super straight because he is a straight male that is not attracted to females that were not born female. In other words, he's a straight male that is not attracted to transgender women. And I'm sorry, what is wrong with that? I thought, okay, well, he has come up with his own way of explaining that he doesn't want, like, in other words, he, if he gets caught in the crying game situation, I don't know if you ever saw the movie The Crying Game, but that's kind of what happened there. A guy fell for a girl, but ended up not being a girl. It was a guy, but it was a transgender. So I guess now we're calling it a girl. But the point of the movie was that he found himself attracted to this person, but he was unattracted that this person, and I'm forget close your kids' ears if they're here, that the person had a penis, that he thought it was a girl, but didn't have the body parts he was looking for the emotional and physical connection. And so that this guy came up with this super straight thing. Well, he got all this backlash, like it was so horrible. And I'm thinking, are you guys kidding me? We're allowed to have 46 genders. He wants to come up with 47, which just basically says, hey, I'm a straight male that only wants to date. I'm a straight, naturally born male that's only attracted or only wants to date naturally born females. I think that's a perfectly reasonable request. The body parts fit together. Long term, if your goal is to get married and have a family, that part fits together. But he was chastised and made fun of for it and ridiculed and critiqued. And so it's like, if your ideals are extreme and they're going over, I mean, honestly, I hate to say this, but I swear we are getting closer and closer to bestiality being part of the norm. Right? I can see somebody walking around with their boa constrictor and saying that that's their partner, right? And now they want to marry their boa constrictor partner. Or, I mean, honestly, the way things are going right now, it's really it's kind of a free for all, and we've got to kind of try and reel some of it back in, because we can't stop them from doing what they're doing, but we don't have to, make businesses make the cost of goods go up, because now we have to redesign and redefine, and people are now being trained, and you got to get your speech right. I mean, we've been learning about our pronouns since we were born, right? And since we were in kindergarten, we had to start learning them. We had to start writing them in English. And now all of a sudden, there's a faction of people that want us to rewrite our entire dictionary. We can't use words we used to use that were docile. Now they're rude and cruel and uncomfortable. We cannot use pronouns because we might offend someone. And I think, this is where this show, Step Up, Stand Out, and Speak, comes in. I'm not changing my pronouns. I'm not. Now, if you tell me you're a boy, then I will address you as he, if as long as I know that and I can recall that. Sometimes I have to be honest, it's really difficult when you're seeing something, your eyes tell you one thing and someone else is telling you other, and you can there can be a slip of the tongue and you can make mistakes. But the point is that there have to be some boundaries, and the boundaries not just for them but for us too. We're allowed to have boundaries to say, I'm not rewriting my language code. I'm not going to try and redo everything in my life because you're feeling uncomfortable about who you are, or you've decided you're someone different than the chromosomes you were born with. I accept it, but I'm not going to change my entire life for it. So hopefully that makes sense. Let me go check out your comments here. Ken dolls are gender neutral. Thank God for that. Kind of, right? And yet we know they're male, right? They just aren't having, an extra appendage that's hanging out there. 3 bathrooms, male, female, and other, right? Or gender neutral or whatever they want to call it. I'm not even going to like split hairs with that stuff and say you can't do it. Just stop trying to change everything we know. Edward, 2 people. My middle name is Edward and my wife's middle name is Lynn. Oh, gotcha. Is the month and day. Oh, I love that. That's so great. Well, welcome to the broadcast. Thanks so much for being here. If you guys have not already subscribed, I hope you'll subscribe. We are typically on every day at 6 p.m. Pacific. If you guys are tuning in. I don't know why, but it looks like everyone in here right now is all from HAPS. So I don't know if the broadcast, because we're running on 9 platforms, but I don't see one comment from another platform in here, that from anything but HAPS. It looks like, I could be wrong, and they just took the symbols off next to them. I know they did an update today, so and our numbers are about a third of what they usually are. So not sure what that is, but either way, super excited that you guys are here. Hit the share button if you're liking the content you're hearing, and would love to hear any comments you have. See, Vicky, have you ever invited anyone into your broadcast? I haven't just yet. I just started using this platform. I will be doing some, we're actually, Redamore and I are going to be doing a debate next week. And I do a podcast, so I interview guests, and we'll be doing that. I was trying to get familiar with some of the tools in here before I did that. So hopefully soon. Dale says, I guess we can blame Madonna for starting this years ago. She said she's a homosexual man trapped in a female body. You know what, Dale? I never heard her say that. That absolutely does not surprise me. Yes, now I see you are from YouTube, Chris, because I see the little symbol there. Everybody else seems to be from HAPS. And I know there's probably other people watching, just maybe not commenting. So I did not know Madonna said that, but it doesn't surprise me in the least bit. But that it's that again, I think there's been a lot of confusion in the world. I really do. I think kids have been getting confused. I think what we're trying to teach them right now. I mean, just the stuff that's in the. If you guys haven't seen the new sexual education stuff like we have here in California, it's soft porn is what it is. It is not. It's not my I almost had a heart attack when I opened it up. I mean, just think about this, and you might have heard me talk about it before. I can't actually show it on the air because I would be violating the terms of service of pretty much every platform, even though, I mean, the middle page is 20, I think it's 20 people of all different ages, sizes, race, whatever, naked. They're all naked because, nobody, I mean, really a 3-year-old needs to know what a 65-year-old Asian man in a wheelchair looks like naked. I mean, seriously, it's the most absurd thing I have ever seen in my life. They've got, you got boys with, again, they're cartoon characters, but they've got hard-ons, and they've got girls with mirrors on, in their girl parts. I'm not a prude, and I believe that we all do need to understand our bodies, but we do not need to start it at that early of an age, and we do not need to be talking about sexual positions with 3rd graders. They want to bring it to the kindergarten level. So we are traumatizing our kids by delivering information they don't need to have. There's a series of books by Gary and Anne-Marie Ezzo. I don't know if you guys put a 5 in the chat box if you've ever heard or read anything by Gary and Anne-Marie Ezzo. They have a book, a series, And one of the books is called Preserving the Moral Innocence of Your Child. And they talk about the words we use and how we describe things so we can keep their imaginations in the right place until they're ready for it. Because they're absolutely destroying the moral innocence of our children. Kids should be kids. Kids should not be thinking about sex. And I mean, if you are new to my broadcast, then you may not know this yet. I am completely um, offended by this concept that a 12-year-old is old enough to get gender reassignment surgery without her parents' knowledge. I am absolutely against anyone under the age of 18 getting any gender reassignment surgery, doing anything about gender reassignment. Our brains haven't fully formed until like you're 23 or 24 or 25. 18 is the legal age. You can't drink even at 18, but we're okay with us changing genitalia. I mean, it's just that is so ludicrous and so it's it's evil. It's really evil because you can't that's not something you can fix. I mean, not really. You start giving a girl male hormones, testosterone, you will destroy her reproductive system. She won't be able to have children. So later, if she figures out, whoa, that was a mistake, that was a fad I was going through or a phase, or I didn't know what was going on in my life and I felt confused, you're mutilating them. And that's just it's wrong on so many levels. I can't even go there. If an adult wants to make that choice, that's their choice. Allowing a child to do it is absolute child abuse. It's nuts. Homeschooling is the best for our children. In my opinion, we don't need anyone outside of our home to teach our children about sex and morals. You know what? I agree with you, Edward Lynn. I am absolutely um but I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second. I absolutely agree. We sent our kids to a private Christian school throughout their days. My son did in high school end up switching some schools because he didn't feel like he was connecting with the kids at his school and he really wanted to do that. So we branched out because he was older and old enough to make some of his own decisions. But other than that, with the stuff that's going on in schools today, I would definitely homeschool my kid or have them, my kids are 18 and 24, but I would definitely either homeschool or find a private school or a group of people that had the same values I do, because what the state's got going on right now it's like I said, it's abusive. It's out of control. It's abusive. And I mean, giving the kids condoms, letting them, go take birth control pills without telling you, letting a child have an abortion without letting your parents know. I mean, this is so insane. The fact that kids could be bleeding, they're having a medical procedure, but the parents don't know. They don't know what to look for. They don't know what to expect. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. And anyone promoting that agenda has a screw loose or has their own agenda and they don't care about people. There's nothing else you can say about it. There's something wrong with them if they think that's okay. Um, let's see. Dale says, I agree. Blessings. We already have a process on how to raise our children. Right. Exactly. We do. And we might not even all do it right. And some people might need help. And I get that some kids could slip through the cracks, and that's a shame and it's horrible. And we got to figure out a way to fix it. But what this is doing is taking all our kids and throwing them in, in the Grand Canyon with a pit at the bottom and hoping that they can figure out how to get out themselves. It's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. And I can't even believe in the United States of America I'm having this conversation. I cannot believe we have a governor that's such an idiot. Idiot. And I'm going to use the word because I don't use that's a swear word in my book. I don't say that kind of stuff often, but he's an idiot. You don't we don't promote that kind of stuff. And the Biden administration assigning Rachel Levine, however you say her name, that has openly said she thinks 12-year-olds should be able to get gender reassignment surgery, and we should even be able to talk with the 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. That is a person that's got a marble or two loose upstairs, and that they should not have anything to do with our kids. And I mean, it's like filling a quota. He's identified, and again, many of these people can be they might be right for their positions. I don't know. Pete Buttigieg, right? It's like he's trying to fill a quota. He doesn't have any experience in transportation. Why is he in that position? Because he was, a candidate. He's openly gay. He's a candidate for president of the United States. And so he's got, so there's this there's this following and people watching and saying, "Oh, look how woke the Biden administration is. We've got a transgender woman running our, the assistant director for the schools. Look how woke we are." It's nuts. It's nuts. I don't care what they do on their own time. I don't care what they have, their personal preferences, but when you're identifying how you're going to run our country and what you're going to do with our kids, we should have a say. And this is wrong. Let's pick people that actually have the best interests of our children at heart, because if you have, and it is called gender dysphoria. I'm not a doctor. I can't identify whether Rachel has that or not, but it's been considered, what is it, dysphoria, you guys know what I'm saying, gender dysphoria, but there's another word in there, I think. Anyway, she doesn't have the best interests of the kids. She might think she does. She might think that if she had had a sex change operation, or if she started transitioning when she was 3, it would have come easier to her. I don't know. But it's wildly outrageous, and it's not okay. And we have to step up, stand out, and speak. We've got to stop being silent. We need to say something and put our foot down. This is outrageous. It's outrageous behavior. And like I said, the Fluid Project stuff, hey, more power to you if you want to fill that marketplace. But why do we have to affect all retailers? Why do we have to increase prices of everything we do? Because now someone says we need to have gender neutral, that we can no longer have he and she. I'm okay with he and she. I bet I have plenty of you guys that would raise their hand and say, I'm okay with he and she too. I don't even understand some of the pronouns, she X or they X or what. I'm not doing it. It's making my head spin. It's like learning another language, but it might change. It just popped into existence yesterday and it might change tomorrow. It's just too much for me. Let's see. So glad my kids are grown. Someone helping my child have reassignment surgery, I'd be put in jail. I cannot tell you that I wouldn't, Dale. I can't say that I wouldn't. Recall all of them, even brain dead. I agree, right? EO Joe needs to go. Would moron be a better use? Perhaps, moron. I know I have to go look up my operational definitions, but I don't know. Moron's a good word. Idiot is, like I said, those are tough because I don't like using them. Vicky, I agree with you that we have to take back our families from K through PhD. It's the leftist indoctrination. It absolutely is. Teaching should only be about reading, writing, and math. The rest needs to be presented by parents to their children. I mean, I think there's sciences and stuff I think we need to do. My parents wouldn't have been very good at science, but yeah, I think sex education needs to be handled by parents, and I think there needs to be some alternatives. I've never heard of that show, C. Arcola. I Am Jazz. I've never heard of it. I don't know what you're referring to. So if you tell me what you're asking me that about, I'll tell you where the reference came from. But I don't know what I Am Jazz is. Is that a movie or a show? Is it a documentary? Tell me what it is. Public service announcement, check out. Yes, thank you, Dale. Dale knows I'm in the schnitzel box all the time, and I'm in there even worse today, apparently, because my numbers are way down. But if you check out, that's probably why. It's probably your fault, Dale, but keep on doing it, brother. It's all right. I don't care. We're here to spread the word that there's information out there that's not, that the general public isn't getting. And like I said, this kind of stuff isn't coming out because if you're not doing research, the mainstream media isn't coming out and identifying that the masses, most people are not, they're not a proponent of this crazy ideology because it's so far out of the norm that if those people want to stay out of the norm, that's okay. Like I said, you should not hate people. You should not treat them poorly. You should not judge them for being different. You should love them as people, but that doesn't mean that you ask them to teach your children about what they're doing or where their confusion comes from or what's happening. Kids they don't know how to do that. The amygdala can get hijacked at the smallest things that happen for these kids. And since they're not done forming, their brains aren't done forming. Heck, think about yourself when you were 12 years old. I remember myself at 12 years old. I mean, I thought I knew everything, but Lord, have mercy. I didn't know anything what I thought I knew, right? I Am Jazz is a reality show about a transgender child. I did not know about that. I haven't seen it. I'll definitely have to check it out. What we were talking about is they're promoting these the beginning we talked about in the title of this are toddlers traumatized by shopping trends, and that Pacific Justice Institute did an article today talking about what is the name of the AB 1084, which is sponsored by a company called the Fluid Project. Excuse me. And they say they're a movement of humans committed to challenging the ethos of traditions past that inhibit freedom and self-expression. And these people have chosen to support this bill of making sure that they push the gender neutral mandate that all large stores have gender neutral, and you're no longer to have girl aisles and boy aisles. You have to have everything gender neutral all mixed in together, or there will be severe fines. And I think it's ludicrous that we're going to increase the cost of items because now we're making stores create more aisles and more information, and we're getting parents frustrated because if I'm going in for a traditional girl, I want to be able to go to the girl aisle and grab my stuff in the boy aisle, but I know if the girl likes trucks, I can go over to this aisle and grab it. I do not have to now blend them in and try and figure out what it is. I mean, it's just like I said, it's just another way for them to prove that they have the power instead of just being who you are. Kids do not freak out. It says that that boys and girls are stigmatized and sometimes traumatized by the boy and girl aisles. And I just don't believe it. I think it's nonsense and it's ridiculous. Never when I was a kid and went into a store would I have felt traumatized if that there was a boy aisle and a girl aisle. I was a tomboy. I was always shopping in whatever aisles I wanted. It never traumatized me. I never thought anything of it. And now to suggest that kids all of a sudden are, that means we're planting the seeds. I don't think kids have changed that much in their, general makeup. It's only the influences that we experience that change the way we think. Let's see. They did make that kid wait until he or she was 18 before surgery. I did see a documentary that came out, or part of it, that talked about 4 or 5 kids that they were walking through the transition process, and a lot of those kids ended up saying they didn't want to do that. They felt they were starting to do it. They came out at church or they made these announcements because that's what they thought they were supposed to do. But they were kind of rebelling against it, saying, "I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this." Because they didn't even understand what they were doing in the first place. So they didn't even understand what they didn't want to do either. They just knew they were uncomfortable and they felt like they were getting pushed. So we need to be careful and let kids be kids. We need to let people be people. And we need to accept, certainly, as people's, I always say, my son has Asperger's, and he used to always think he was weird, and I'd say, "You're not weird, son, you're quirky," right? And quirky is cool. So one of my books is called Own It: How to Step Up and Stand Out, and it said, quirky is cool and normal is so yesterday. So I'm all for people identifying who they are, accepting them for who they are, and being the best version of themselves. I am not all for us trying to mold people into whatever group we want them to be in. And I think that there is some influence when, certain parents or certain traditions or certain things that when kids are growing up, that they're creating the uncomfortableness. The parents are creating it. They're creating stigmas and they're creating difficulties. And I don't know where the bridge is to build it back, but we know that it's happening. It was the male child inside you trying to come out, right? And so if I lived in today's times, I mean, many of you guys have read my books, then you know that my nickname when I was a kid was Bulldozer. Like, I played games, and when there was tackling to be done, even if I was in a skirt, I would bulldoze over those guys. So if I lived in today, somebody definitely, instead of calling me a tomboy, which is what my mom called me, I would have been called, I don't know what. I can't even remember the 64 names we went over, right? I would have been called something else. And the more people tell you, I probably would have started to get confused and think, well, maybe that is what I am. And how come, you know, I wouldn't have probably had the strong personality I do now. I know who I am, but I had a chance to find out who I was. I had a chance to make some mistakes and do some things that made me grow up faster than maybe I wanted to. But, I can only imagine the girl that who I was growing up, who they would have molded me into being. We all have a feminine and a masculine side. We all sometimes, my son when he was young, because my husband wanted to be a stay-home dad, he has some older kids, and so when our kids were there, he said, "I never got to stay home with, one of my children. He wanted to be a stay-home dad with our youngest. And so, I mean, I worked from home. It's not like I was far away, but he wanted to be the primary caregiver for him. And so my son, when he was, I don't know, like 3 or 4, he wanted a baby doll, right? And I asked him, why do you want a baby doll? And he goes, "'Cause I want to take care of him like daddy takes care of me." So Elijah got baby Jeremiah. His aunt got him a doll called baby Jeremiah, right? And so, what would you guys have said then? Or what would the left have said then? Oh, he's obviously a girl that's stuck inside a boy's body. No, he was emulating something he liked. The way my husband cared for him, and I cared for him as well, but he was developing that relationship. We all have to grow, and we need to stop trying to pigeonhole kids and push them into these boxes. Like I saw this girl, you guys probably saw this thing I shared the other day. Her baby is like 18 months old, and she goes, "My baby's gay. My baby's gay." And she's playing and telling him he's gay. I mean, and my dad's going to die, but my baby's gay. So are you telling me now the baby is gay, or mom is going to push baby into a gay box? I mean, it's nuts. This whole thing is nuts. We have hormones inside of us. We have chromosomes inside of us. Our body, we grow typically if we're given typical advice of what happens in masculinity. I'm not saying that we push people into directions like boys can't do ballet. Of course they can. And girls can't do football. Of course they can. We let them become who they are without trying to cram them in boxes. Allow them to express their freedom without second guessing their sexuality. I mean, it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. Okay, let's see. I would like to see the study that shows how a gendered clothing aisle would be traumatized, right? I don't get it. I don't get it at all. It makes no sense. Kingdom culture is very important. We have a very good manual on how life should be. The Bible covers it every area of life. My wife and I have been applying its principles since we were 15 and 16. Amen to that, right? Now, do I expect everyone else, as I'm a Christian, do I expect everyone else to operate like a Christian? I do not. You are welcome to have your own beliefs and your own religions. If you ask me for advice, I'm going to the Bible. That's where I'm going to go. That's where the advice I'm going to give is going to come from what I know to be true. So I believe that is the right foundation. And I believe that some of this stuff is so it's destroying the kids. They are getting so confused. I mean, I've watched children that are just unbelievably confused, and it's incredibly sad for me. We had a girl who played tackle football with us when I was a kid. She's a normal, beautiful woman today, right? That would be I like to think of myself as that person too. Like I said, they used to call me bulldozer. They don't call me that. Well, I don't know. If I got out there, I still play football. I can still throw a football. I still like to do things, but I'm definitely a girl. I like to dress up. I like to look pretty. You know, it's but why? Why do we have to do this? I don't know. And by the way, if you guys are new to the broadcast, thank you so much for being here. I hope that you hit the subscribe button. I'm asking you to do that. I would love for you to give me a chance, do a girl a solid and give me a follow. If you're on a different platform, do the same thing, but come over to HAPS, HAPPS, .tv/invite/ Vicky Fitch. Come on over, check it out. They'll give you some free coins that you can give to your broadcasters. That's one of the things here on HAPS and Periscope. We got to do the hearts. That was kind of our currency on the platform. And this platform, you can actually give money, but they give you money to give away. So come on over, pass some of it out to your favorite broadcasters, and check out the platform and see if you like it. Hi, Vicky Fitch. Do you remember me? Hearts. I do. Hearts and stars. What's up, girlfriend? It's so good to see you. Many of my Perry peeps are coming, are over here on this platform. I'm so glad to see you because I had subscribed to your channel the other day when I saw you when I was scrolling through looking at things. So I'm so glad you're here. Cue the song I Enjoy Being a Girl, right? Thanks, Mel. Good to see you too. All right, guys. So what do you think about all this? I want to know what your opinion is. High five award for Melanie. Thanks, Mel. Whoop, whoop. What do you guys think about this? Does anybody have any other opinions? Again, you do not have to agree with me. This is not about me badgering you or pressuring you on what you should feel, but we can talk about how are kids being affected by this? How are retails? How are prices, going to be affected when we are forced to make changes that don't need to be made? I mean, these, like I said, having to change all the aisles or getting fined for not having gender neutral aisles. That's just people controlling. I mean, there's no point in it. There's no child that is traumatized unless you have taught them to feel traumatized by the way the shopping aisles are set up. Again, I don't feel that way in the grocery store. If I go into Vaughn's or I go into Aldi's or I go into Costco, they're all different. And I don't lay on the floor having a fit because they're not compliant with the way I think they should be. Kids don't even know any better unless we tell them. So who is it that's feeding them the bowl? It's places like, well, again, the Fluid Project, I actually have respect for what they're doing. I mean, again, as an entrepreneur, if I see a need in the marketplace and I can fill it, then I'm going to go fill it and I'm going to make a lot of money doing it. And that's part of capitalism. It's part of the opportunity to be an entrepreneur and to fill a need in the marketplace. So the Fluid Project, if you guys weren't here earlier, has a complete line of gender neutral clothes. Their stores are all gender neutral. They have they have a place that people can have coffee and different stuff and hang out. It's completely gender neutral. I think that's great. It's a great space for people that want to go there. So why is it that they are sponsoring a bill, AB 1084 here in California, to pressure the rest of us to feel the same way? Why do we I don't want my women's clothes mixed in with men's clothes. I like to go into the start part of the store that will fit my body. So I want to go into the toys or the crafts or whatever. If we're going to start with toys, it's going to move on from there. It's not just going to be toys. Look what they did to Mr. Potato Head, who was already kind of a trans tater. That's what I called him, right? You could take Mrs. Potato Head's lips and shirt and you could put whatever you want on him. So he was already neutral. He was already trans. He was already woke. So what in the world was going on? So now, like I said, every step, it's like, give someone an inch, they take 10 miles. That's what's happening with this woke left. I'm okay with lots of stuff. I'm not okay with what's happening because you're not just going to, first of all, it's ridiculous and it's going to cost me more money and I don't like it. Next, it's going to confuse kids already. Why are we doing that? I don't get it. And then now we're conditioning people. Well, that's because we have to keep you gender neutral. Why? Why can't boys be boys and girls be girls? I don't understand. I'm not talking about the way you feel. If you're feeling differently, that's a different subset. But most people, and I'm going to go well over 50%. So 51% is most. I'm going to go well over that. Don't want this. So why are we letting these few people try and shove us into this weird box when they can have exactly what they want in places like the Fluid Project, right? I think that I'm guessing this is total speculation on my part, and I'll grab your comments in one second. Total speculation on my part that the government officials are looking for people to sponsor it so they can make it seem like it's someone else's idea. Well, this is something that people want. It's not. It is not something most people want. We don't want our goods prices going up. We don't want to have to work harder at figuring out what we want because someone else is confused or because you want to be woke. Okay? Feel free to wake up and smell the coffee and knock it off. Do your own thing, create your own stores, but stop trying to change everyone else to fit your narrative. Stop trying to take the 90% of us or whatever. I mean, I don't know what percentage it is. I know there used to be stores called 80% straight and they were saying 20% were gay, lesbian, transgender, whatever. I don't know if that rule still applies. I honestly don't. So even if we go with that one and say leave the other 80% of us alone, don't take our stuff, feel free to create your own. I'm not going to be mad at it, ban it, throw eggs at it, burn it down. I'm not going to act like BLM or Antifa because I don't like it. I'm happy for you. If you can find a space that makes you feel comfortable, that's great. But if you opened that space, I wouldn't go in there and go, excuse me, I want to see male and female sections of this store because I feel traumatized, right? Isn't that what they're doing? Why is it that we're allowing this? Why are people not saying something? Because why? They're going to call us racist. They're going to say, we're bigots. We're this. I'm not. I'm just calling it like it is. This is nonsense. I'm okay with them creating their own spaces. And hey, if I'm wrong and I'm in the 10%, then fine. Go ahead and knock yourselves out and change everything else, and I'll create my own spaces. But you and I both know right now, if I did that, I created a space and said, this is the he, she store, and we're not using other pronouns, then they would call me names because it's not the current woke agenda. And this is nuts. And we have to say something, guys. And we don't, like I said, we don't have to judge other people. I'm not judging. But stop trying to ram this down everyone else's throats. And stop, you guys, the people that are here that are on the same page with me, stop being such a wimp, right? Step up, stand out, and speak. And I say wimp, like I'm not expecting you to go to a live stream. I'm not expecting you to comment in here. I'm saying when the time arises for you to make a decision, and maybe it's on a ballot, it's very quiet, it's very personal, it's very private, that you make the decision that lines up with your values, not what lines up with people are pressuring you to do or what you think is what the new agenda is. What are your values? What's your value set? Okay, let's see. Going over here, I'm going to answer your questions. I feel like things will be too, and things that shouldn't be accepted will be accepted. Right. If we don't stop, if we don't step up, stand out and speak and say, hey, no, I'm not going to do this. Like when people say, don't assume their pronoun. Well, I'm going to assume their pronoun unless they give me a different one. That's it. If you look like a girl, and this is not me being judgmental. If I think you're a girl, I'm going to identify you as a girl. If I think you're a guy, and if you correct me, I'm happy to fill in the gap. But if you try and make me say words that I can't pronounce, like sheiks and whatever, I'm not doing it. I'll just withdraw from the conversation. Dale says, my mother in law will get down in the dirt and dig up worms and go fishing them, put on her dress, and go out to dance the night away. She still looks good at 73. You know what? She's a rock star. Like, I want to grow up to be like her. I want to be me. If you don't like, I'm not big on worms, right? I'm not big on fishing. Like, I like to throw the pole out, but I don't like what happens to the fish afterwards, right? But I'm not judging her. But does that make me a girly girl versus a boy? I'll climb a tree. I will golf. I'll climb a tree. I'll go parachuting. I'll do all kinds of stuff. But that's what I mean. Let people be people and stop trying to stop trying to change everything we know for a small percentage of people who just don't, who want to make sure that they're heard. Be heard in your own store. Be heard, and I will accept you. I will accept you anywhere, but I'm not going to accept you walking into the store and complaining that it's not designed the way you want it. Then go somewhere else. But it's not because we're not inclusive. It's because this is ridiculous. We don't get to throw temper tantrums about everything we want and mess everything up for everybody else and get everybody confused just because we want to have a fit. Okay. Let's see. Too gray. I don't know what too gray is referring to. Hearts and stars. It must have been things that I don't know what that meant. And Dale saying, hey to you, hearts and stars. Let's see. Can you imagine Macy's on the second floor is gender neutral and the third floor is gender neutral? I know. Share. It's like I said, it's ridiculous. But again, if they want to start their own department store, more power to you. It's totally fine. I'm okay with that. I might even walk in. Maybe, who knows? Maybe I'll like something that's in there, but it's not going to be my mainstay shop. And if it is, then hey, I'm allowed to be a natural born female who identifies as a female that likes to shop in your store, right? Hey, yay for you. But stop all this nonsense. Thank you, Vicki, for your beautiful presentation. It's really nice to see the word being explained through a godly woman. I appreciate your clarity over agreement. I love all of God's creation. Each one of us are original design, not a copy. Everyone go and be great. Amen to that. Amen to that, Edward Lynn. The extreme measures many governmental and societal progressives are taking to shove their narratives down others' throats must be addressed and stood up to consistently. Exactly. Because again, I know people are going to say bad things about me. I don't care. I mean, I wish they wouldn't, but I'm not going to hide behind fear and say I'm not going to say anything because most people are afraid to have this conversation. They're afraid because people will attack them and ridicule them or won't do business with them. For me, and again, this may offend some of you, I am a Christian. I have an audience of one that is Jesus Christ. And if I am, pleasing him, I'm doing the right thing. He never tells me to judge you, be unkind to you, ridicule you, but he does tell me to step up and stand out and speak for my values, speak and vote for my values, to address things and then help be the bridge and try and address the gaps when some people are just confused. They just are, right? And then we can try and help them, but not through ridicule and saying you're wrong and you're stupid and you don't know any better, but just saying, help me understand that. Help me understand how this is helping. Just like I did a post the other day saying, can anyone tell me how it is beneficial, right? Beneficial for us to not have voter ID, to not have to identify ourselves to vote. I'm just looking for one, like a place to start. One thing that makes that beneficial. And this whole thing, if you guys were watching, with Coca-Cola coming out against Governor Kemp, about in Georgia, about his new election laws, which if you're listening to the mainstream media, they're lying. And so was Biden. Biden was outright lying. That was just such an insult when he knows that this has nothing to do with getting water. They're telling you cannot promote that. You cannot go up to the voter, when people are in line to vote, bringing food with your Biden shirts on, saying, and your water, that you can't do that. That's always been a rule. The people that are the voting, working the polls can bring you water, but most people will bring their own water. It's not like people are stuck in line for 4 days and you're not allowed to move. I mean, it's so offensive. And he called it Jim Crow laws on steroids, or Jim Crow 2.0. Jim Crow would kill people for trying to vote. I mean, that was the most outrageous statement. Biden knows it's an absolute lie. Even though I don't believe the man's even mostly there, he knew that was a lie. There's nothing in here that suggests that people should be hung or tarred or feathered or beaten for voting. There's nothing that stops them. Having an ID, look, you have to have an ID to drink. You have to have an ID to buy cigarettes. You have to have ID to go to pick up your tickets at a baseball game. You have to have an ID to get on an airplane. You have to have ID to drive a car. You're supposed to carry an ID anywhere in the United States in your pocket. So if you get pulled over by a police officer or they stop you, that you have your identification on you. So what they're asking you to do is have something on you that you're required by law to have on you anyway. So for us to try and turn this around and pretend this is some kind of, racism is nonsense and ridiculous, because nothing in there is about racism. Nothing is about blacks versus whites versus Asians. It's about an ID card that everyone's supposed to have anyway. So why are we having this conversation? And why, of course, it's sad that the mainstream media won't say a dang word about it, and that people like me with my, micro influence here are talking about it, because this is nonsense. And what Biden said, like I said, they talk about inciting things with Trump by saying that people need to stand up for themselves and fight for their rights, but was inciting something. Biden was inciting anger and hate, and that was pure lies. It was pure 100% lies. He knew that wasn't true. So why are we putting up with that? Why are we not demanding that the bar, that these people reach the bar? The bar we have set for our politicians is so freaking low that you could crawl under it. An ant could crawl under it. Like, these people don't even have to try to get over it. We've got to do better. Sorry, I went off on a tangent. Let's see. I'm gonna go back here really quick. Let's see. Will it be wrong to play dress up with your daughter before she's old enough to tell you if she's actually male first? Right, Lori? Who knows, right? Call them feminine clothes and masculine clothes, since we can't use male and female. You know what? That's a good point. And so people were, the first female vice president. Well, but you're not allowed to be female. So you're the first what? What are we calling you? The first, I don't know. It's ridiculous. And I love when people say, people are going to really understand when you try and put male and female plumbing. In plumbing, there's male and female parts. If you try and put a rooster, and what do they say? If you try and put a rooster, if you try and get eggs out of a rooster, you're going to understand the difference between male and female. I don't know. But let's face it, people, there are male and female. They were created in the Bible. The reason there was two of each on the ark is because they needed to procreate, right? Male and female together procreate. Two females cannot procreate. There has to be a male there somewhere. Even if they use a turkey baster, they still have to get something from the male in order to do it in the first place, right? So male and female is the way things were designed for procreation on the earth. That we should stop denying it. If we're going to continue trying to wreck the traditional marriage and the traditional home, then we're going to end up not having it, not enough people on the earth to keep it to sustain it. Okay, let's see. Um, Michael says, I agree with you. Thank you, Michael. Welcome to the broadcast. Mr. T said in his interview with Laura that there is a good chance he will run in 2024. I would say there's no chance he's not running in 2024. If you watch the CPAC when he mentioned it, and that, I mean, I know he's going to run, but if you guys have heard the other part too, right? See, he lives in Florida. If he were to run in Florida for one of the congressional seats there, well, you guys probably heard that, right? If you haven't, let me know and I can go over. But he could run in 2022 for a congressional seat if perhaps they got rid, and that will at least get him back in the fold there. But then, of course, then they're saying that he could help get impeached, EO Joe and the Wicked Witch of the White House, they could be impeached. And then, because he would, if he came in to the House, he'd end up being Speaker of the House. And then he could, if he got them impeached, he could come in, pull the rest of the presidency, and then he'd still have another term he could run. So that's that wishful thinking. But I believe that God is in control, that God has a plan. And whether it's Donald Trump in the White House or EO Joe in the White House, the fact is that we need to step up, stand out, and speak. We've got to continue letting people know that we do have a voice and stop being silent because we're afraid people are going to say bad things about us. People are going to say that we don't care, because it's a lie. I mean, people can say, Vicki, you don't care, you're prejudiced or racist. I'm not. Anyone that knows me knows I love everybody. I have friends of every color, creed, sexual orientation. I could care less. But if you ask me my opinion, I am going to give it to you. If you ask me, I'm going to give you my advice and what I know from the Bible. That's where it's coming from. It doesn't mean I'm going to judge you with it. I'm not. I'm just going to tell you. Hearts and Songs says, I was saying that I think the area will become too gray and things that shouldn't be accepted will begin to be accepted. I mean, don't you think we're already way past that? Let's use extreme examples of BLM and Antifa during the summer and what they did. Now, speaking of that, put a 6 in the chat box if you heard or saw the thing I posted earlier. One of the BLM people said if Derek Chauvin is not convicted, that there will be burning in the street. Just watch it. Basically, threatened. And I'm going to see. I think I can grab this. It's on my Facebook page. I'm going to see. I don't know where it is. If I can grab it. Yeah, I don't have it right here. But look at it. And what's going to happen there? Basically, they just threatened. So the government should be on notice, because we know when BLM says they're going to do something, they're going to do it tenfold. So are they preparing like they did for the Capitol riots? And I say Capitol riots in air quotes because they knew something was supposed to happen, had nothing to do with the Trump supporters. They already knew that it was supposed to be coming and they did nothing about it. Now you've got BLM already telling you, if this doesn't go down the way they think it will, be prepared because things are going to get ugly. And it's like, that's a threat. That is an absolute threat that we know that they will do. So are we going to be prepared? And are we going to bail out the governors again that choose to just let the streets burn and let Chaz and Chaps and Chop and whatever's pop up in your states? I mean, that kind of stuff is pure nonsense. It's nuts. And why did anyone allow it to happen? There's no good reason. Well, they're just expressing themselves. No, they're not. They're vandalizing. They're being hoodlums. They're hurting people. They should be arrested and put in jail. And yes, it needs to cost them something to get back out. It needs to go through the old process. Not here in California, though. One person, I think, was let out 3 times. He robbed 2 people and raped someone. I mean, it's nuts. Okay, let's see. Sorry, I left out words before. I totally understand Hearts and Stars, and I'm so glad that you're here. I am a woman. Women's clothes fit me, not men's clothes. I don't want to go through every piece of gender neutral clothing to find something that fits. I don't either, Melanie. I don't either. As long as getting the ID isn't barred by too many obstacles. Lori, well, like I said, you already have to have an ID anyway, Lori. They're not trying to get you to get a new ID, right? You already have to have an ID to drive. You have to have an ID to open a bank account. You have to have an ID to do pretty much anything. So you already have what you need. So they're just saying that basically, I mean, Joe actually said, well, he made that comment about Black people and Hispanics not being able to get to the internet. It's like, I mean, most people have a smartphone. They're very equipped at getting on the internet. I think they're probably much more equipped than he is. um, let's see. Edward Lynn, subscribe. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Kamala was out passing water in the pole lines. I didn't see that, but it certainly wouldn't surprise me. And that she is not a woman that I think that children should be emulating. I mean, I think this is a woman that said that to Biden, and if you guys didn't see this in the debates, basically she called him a racist and potentially a rapist. But then he asked her to be his running mate, and she says, it was just a debate. Like, that's an excuse. I'm just wondering, I mean, any of you guys here that know me, do you think for a second, if I believe someone was a rapist and a racist, that if he asked me to be his running mate, that I would say yes? I mean, that would be an NO with a capital N. No way, no how. I don't care how much money, how much prestige, how much influence I could even have to help for the good. No, 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 no. I certainly wouldn't say it was a debate. So that means what? You were lying? And you don't think those things about them? Either way, the two of them deserve each other. They're whacked out people. Oh, thank you so much for the appreciate award. I really appreciate that, Edward Lynn. Thank you so much. Facebook user, I don't know who you are. Actually, identify yourself by law does not mean produce a card. It means you can state your name. It's not against the law to not carry ID. It depends on the state. Who wrote that? Oh, that's you, Lori? Well, from what I understand, and I will check on this, I know in California you have to carry an ID because they can take you to jail, or at least they could before. They could take you to jail if you do not have an ID because you have to prove who you are, not just say who you are, because you can lie. And that's why they always tell you, like, when you get stopped, you have to show your ID and your driver's license and registration. They need to make sure that you're registered to drive. There's no warrants out for your arrest. If you're on the street and you're doing something wrong and they stop you, you have to have your ID. So from what I understand, and again, correct me if I'm wrong or I will go investigate. Every citizen is supposed to carry their ID. So if they are stopped, that they can prove who they are, that people aren't lying about who they are. When you drive a car, you need a driver's license, vehicle registration, and an insurance card. How hard is it to carry one piece of identification for voting? It's the same piece. You don't even have to have a new card. It's just your driver's license, the same card that you're supposed to have to prove who you are. It appears nobody has big enough ovaries or the male gendered counterparts to constructively discuss an alternate view here. TR Fungi, are you saying that you disagree, but you're saying no one else has the courage to say it and that you think they do, but they're not? Or I don't know what you're saying. Feel free if you don't, I mean, if you don't agree, say something, but don't wrap it around in that because I don't even know what that meant. And if you're the one that has the cojones, then then speak up. I mean, I've known you for a long time. I've never known you to pretend that you felt something different. So I don't know what you mean by that. I'm taken aback a little because I'm not sure if I'm misunderstanding it. Dale says you have to use the right words. That's not a threat. That is their proposal. But if it expires or if you move, my new ID place will be difficult to get to. It's not walking or bike distance. If I couldn't afford gas or a ride to town, how can I get my new Georgia ID? First of all, Georgia specifically provides free IDs. That's part of the bill, that if you can't get an ID for voting, that they will provide it for you for free. They also, most states also have those. You just call it kind of like a dial-a-ride, but they have a public service thing to help people get the things that they need. So you should check that out. And I think maybe they don't do a good enough job explaining it to other people to let them know that the services are available, just like I don't think veterans know all the services that are available to them. But Georgia specifically, you can, because that's part of their bill. No EO Joe, you gotta go, right? Exactly. Bike distance. Gotcha, Lori. It's about power, not purpose. It's the left's complete agenda. Biden, Harris, or White House. Yeah, right, right. Read the law again. I've read it many times. Pedestrian does not have to. I will, Lori. Are you saying you read it where you were in California? Are you saying you read a federal one? I will definitely look that up. I gotta write that on my notes. ID laws in the US. Okay. I think since they're pushing for the vaccine ID, then we make the freaking vaccine ID the national voting ID problem. So tired of this. I'm not getting the vaccine. So somebody will have to hold me down and do that, which I believe will be a violation of my rights. So if I end up with a vaccine, you guys will know that somebody attacked me. Pennsylvania has voter identification cards, like separate ones, Melanie. I heard some states don't require that. Yeah, I don't know. Do you have a separate one, but you also have a driver's license, or is that a substitute? You can update your ID online. I'm saying nobody appears to present an argument or present a progressive view here. I surely won't, as I can't agree with most of their views. Again, don't understand. If you haven't, I don't think the people, you're saying the other people that are here watching, it sounds like what you're saying to me, and maybe I'm wrong. Hey, Bass Chica, that you believe that of the people that are here, that many people disagree with me, but they refuse to say something. I mean, that's what it sounds like you're saying, but I don't know why you're saying that. Why are you assuming that they don't agree instead of identifying? And if you disagree, nobody's going to attack you. Okay, the two different ones. Thanks, Mel. I mean, I don't understand TR Fun Guy. Like I said, you've been following me for a very long time. I don't think I've ever done anything to anyone, certainly not you, that would suggest. I mean, you present your progressive view. I don't believe, like I said, help me understand, because I'm not opposed to hearing. There are some things like we can talk. If you tell me that you think that a 5-year-old should be able to have gender reassignment surgery, we'll have a conversation. We can talk about and I'm not changing my position. There's the likelihood that I would change my position on that is pretty much zero, but it doesn't mean I won't hear where you're coming from. So maybe I can come up with more, a more informed way to express it. Understanding the mind and when and how it forms in each lobe of the brain as it develops and what kids are capable of doing there. Most people don't understand that. And I certainly am not an expert in it, but having a kid with Asperger's, I started learning a little bit more about the brain and what parts develop and where executive function comes from, and because of a need, right? And so again, I'm not progressive, certainly by those standards, but that doesn't mean I won't listen to you. So I'm really sorry if you, but like, you obviously feel passionate about it because you made a comment about it, and I can't agree with most of their views. You can't agree with the people that are talking or the people that aren't talking. I guess that's the part I don't understand. I would just tell her I disagree and that I love her and that we would move on. Right. And like I said, but tell me what you disagree with so we can have a conversation. I'm fairly liberal for a Christian, I guess, but I just think they see things from multiple perspectives, absolutely, and get lost in them. In this case, I agree with you, right? And if you didn't, I wouldn't be angry with you, right? Hearts and stars. I mean, we would just have a place that you and I didn't have an agreement. Bass Chica says people have been told by mainstream media that everyone agrees with them, and simply seeing that people have other views and that it's a majority perhaps of people, it ruins their echo chamber and they need a safe space. Right. And so again, if you are disagreeing with me, please feel free. I'm not asking you to agree. I'm really not. I hope that we can have a conversation and that you don't feel like you have to be quiet. When you say stuff like that, it tells me that you want to say something, but you're concerned about the backlash, either from me, from them, um, or something. And I don't want you to feel that way. I would never want you to feel that way. Yeah, I know you wouldn't get mad at me. You've always been super awesome that way. I literally don't disagree in this case. Okay. And again, but I think that you would tell me if you did, right? Hearts and stars, that you would say, "Hey, you know what? I'm having a hard time with this one." Because and then we can talk about it. And like I said, anyway, for those of you who don't know me, like, I'm not a judgmental person. I am opinionated for sure, absolutely, but my opinions come from passion, right? And yeah, you would say I actually see it like this, and I would respect that, and then see if maybe I said something incorrectly. Sometimes we use terms or words that can trigger other people, or we don't realize that you know that the way we're defining something maybe isn't as accurate. My son and I have gone through that a bunch of times where I thought I was being completely clear, and come to find out in his perception I wasn't. And so we can, like I said, we can try and figure it out, and then we'll really know if we disagree to disagree. It's okay to have constructive conversations of different, and I support that, because I don't think I'm not an echo chamber. I don't expect everybody to come in here and say, "Oh, hail Vicky, she's so smart and she knows everything." I'm that's not who I am. I'm just me. I'm just a girl with experiences and things that I've dealt with and successes and failures just like every other person on the planet. I'm just delivering mine out in a public forum in a way I hope is articulating what I feel in a constructive way and that we can converse. And like I said, once in a while I'll say something like, no, that, what I said that I called someone an idiot, our governor an idiot because of something that he was doing specifically, but in general, I don't do that either. I usually don't do any name calling, and if that's the worst that I ever do, I think that I'm in pretty good company. Are you guys in pretty good company? Dale says, I only found you a few months ago, and I think you are a very nice person, fair to both sides. Well, thank you so much, Dale. I appreciate that because that's what I want to be. I want to be fair. I don't want. I'm not a flip flopper. You guys know who I call flip flop and Fauci, right? I'm not a flip flopper. But it doesn't mean if you present evidence to me that's factual that I can research, that it doesn't mean I wouldn't change my opinion, right? So like I said, I try and be open. So TR Fun Guy, I'm so sorry that you feel that way, my friend. I believe we share very similar worldviews. I'm not withholding information. For clarity, I'm saying I'm disappointed that there doesn't appear to be anyone here to hold an adult discussion regarding progressive views. Okay. I am not a progressive, and believe it or not, I'm an RN and give appropriate care to any person, anytime, under any circumstances. I must wear a neutral hat as an RN. But see, that, and I am, as a person, I'm not an RN. I am going to be completely neutral. I have friends that are transgender. I have friends that are gay. I have friends that are straight. I have friends that are confused. I mean, I have friends of I don't judge them. If they ask me an opinion, I share what I believe, but I'm not judging them. It's their lives, and that's okay. And I love them as people. I absolutely adore them. So I don't know if there are no people in. I think, and I'm going to say this, TR. I believe that most people that are progressive are very vocal. So I'm guessing that there's either more people in here that just aren't, maybe because of, if they know who I am, they know that I'm a conservative. They're just listening to perspective and content versus other people, because usually progressives are pretty vocal. They can even be very trolly. Like, I'm very conservative, but if I'm hearing someone else that's a progressive, I'm going to say, really? I'm going to ask some questions. I'm not going to attack and say, you're crazy, you're out of mind. I'm going to say, really? So do you think that do you think a 12-year-old really has the ability to make that decision? I mean, I know what I did when I was 12 years old. I couldn't have made a decision of whether I was a boy or a girl. I mean, I would ask questions like that and ponder the possibilities. But anyway, sorry if I miscommunicate so poorly. Oh, no, TR, no, I'm just glad. See, this is me, right? That's why I wanted to ask you. I wanted to kind of get down to the bottom of it and make sure that you didn't feel squelched, or you didn't feel that I would somehow attack or be disrespectful to you or that. So thank you for that. And again, I also got an opportunity to clarify. I don't care what I don't care if people are I don't care who they love. I don't care. And I say I don't care, meaning it's your choice. I'm not going to judge you. But I don't think we should be changing all of our stores or changing everything that a small group of people want us to. I think they should have their own spaces. And I think that, like I said, I would never go into what is it called again? The Fluid Project. I would never go into the Fluid Project and claim that it needed to be more gender specific versus gender neutral. That would be me shoving my opinion on down their throats for the purpose of just doing it, because there's no damage is being done to anyone by the way we have our current stores set up. So anyway, I hope this has produced a healthy conversation. I appreciate you guys. If you are not following me, please hit the follow button. If you haven't hit the share button, hit the share button. And those of you who are watching the replay, hashtag it replay, tag me in it so I can go back and comment back to you. And if you're not over here on the HAPS app, come over to haps.tv/invite/Vicky Fitch. because I'm always in the schnitzel box. Facebook has been suppressing my content for so long, I can hardly, I can hardly tell you. So come over to HAP so we can have a conversation and you can see everybody talking. Pitbull, Real American Patriot News, just subscribed. Welcome, Pitbull. So excited that you're here. Hearts and Stars says, I can bring up a social issue I'm liberal on and spice things up if you all want. Let's do it tomorrow, Hearts and Stars, because it's already an hour and 15 minutes. I was supposed to be off in an hour. Oh, shoot. I actually am late for an interview. I'm interviewing somebody as a web developer. I'm in big trouble. I didn't realize the time it was. I love you guys. Let's be here tomorrow. Until next time, I want to remind you, like I always do, to dream it, believe it, and achieve it. Ciao.